Chapter 588, Back to Nanyang. Chapter 588, Back to Nanyang. Having left the garden, Jian Wushuang saw Yang Zixuan and Di Jing waiting for him outside. "Third brother, I've asked eldest brother, Wang Yuan, to come here. Let's have a good drink later," said Yang Zixuan. "I'm afraid I can't," Jian Wushuang looked solemn. He shook his head and said, "Senior Emperor Shao has just informed me that Sword Marquis Mansion is in danger. I have to get back immediately, otherwise, it will be destroyed." "Really?" Yang Zixuan frowned. "Master is omnipotent. If he said that the Sword Marquis Mansion is in danger, you should definitely get back quickly. Second brother, please let our eldest brother Wang Yuan know about this," Jian Wushuang answered anxiously. He looked at Di Jing and said, "Senior Di Jing, I have to go back to the Nanyang continent now." "Sure, follow me," Di Jing nodded and took Jian Wushuang to the castle. Soon after, Jian Wushuang arrived at a secret chamber which held a huge wormhole. "You can get back to the Tang dynasty in the Nanyang continent through this wormhole," Di Jing said as he opened the wormhole for Jian Wushuang. "Thanks," Jian Wushuang said and stepped into the wormhole. Waves reverberated in the space and soon, Jian Wushuang disappeared. At the Nanyang continent, a territory of Tang dynasty. The Tang dynasty remained the same messy and violent slaughterous dynasty. At this moment, two people were fighting to the death beside a huge nameless mountain in the Tang dynasty. The two people emitted Saint Realm auras, reflecting their status as peak experts in the Nanyang continent. The fight between the two Saint Realm experts had attracted a large number of warriors, who stood around the battle and watched the fight intently. No one knew of the existence of a wormhole in the huge nameless mountain. At the moment, the wormhole was aglow with light. A short moment later, a human figure emerged from the wormhole and slowly walked forward along the tunnel. Soon, this human figure came out from the cave. Nanyang continent. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly, breathed the air and raised his head to look at the sky. Suddenly, "Die!" A howl reverberated through the area. Jian Wushuang saw a huge blade light cut through the air. Its intended victim had been a Saint Realm elder, who had reacted quickly and avoided it. The power of the blade light had not subsided and continued to move towards Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang had only just arrived at the Nanyang continent and he was already being attacked. Although the attack was weak for someone at his level, it still made him a bit angry. "Get out!" Jian Wushuang bellowed in rage, his face purple with fury. His bellow sounded like a thunderclap that shocked the entire area and drowned out all other sounds. The blade light which had slashed towards him was immediately destroyed. The purple-haired man who had launched the blade light and the Saint Realm elder were attacked by the bellow. It confused them and made them bleed from their eyes, noses and mouths. Although they survived, both of them sustained serious injuries. The two powerful Saint Realms wilted like plants in winter. They collapsed on the ground and did not rise again. The ordinary warriors present covered their ears and most of them were shrieking in pain. Abruptly, silence fell. Countless terrified looks focused on Jian Wushuang. The two Saint Realms struggled to stand as they stared at Jian Wushuang in terror. They were well aware of the bellow's power. Jian Wushuang had shown them mercy. Otherwise, that bellow would have killed them. Who is he? His strength is so great that experts of the Saint Realm are infants compared to him. One bellow already carries enough power to seriously harm them. This is a real peak expert. The warriors present were in fervent discussion. Jian Wushuang glanced around with an icy look and realized that the two Saint Realms had been fighting. They had not noticed his arrival, which resulted in him being inadvertently attacked. With a better understanding of the situation, his anger dissipated. He waved his hand and gave an elixir to each of the Saint Realms. Following this, there was a flash of flowing light and Jian Wushuang disappeared completely. This speed! So fast! Who the hell is he? The Saint Realms stared at the elixirs with widened eyes. They hesitated for a moment, then swallowed the elixirs. Soon, they noticed that their injuries were healed. The speed of recovery was rapid and it took only a short time for them to return to their previous conditions. In fact, they were at their peak conditions, or perhaps even better than that. The terrifying skills, incredible speed and the magic elixir were clear evidence that the two Saint Realms had met a superior. Having left the mountain, Jian Wushuang flew to the Sword Marquis mansion. Knowing that the Sword Marquis mansion was in danger, he did not dare to tarry. The Sword Marquis mansion in the Tang dynasty was a considerable distance from the Tianzong dynasty. However, Jian Wushuang would be able to get there in less than 1 hour with his speed if he did not stop during his journey. The Sword Marquis mansion, Bahui Commandery, Tianyan province in the Tianzong dynasty. The Sword Marquis mansion had gained fame in the Nanyang continent when it had become common knowledge that Jian Wushuang, a peerless genius, hailed from the mansion. While the mansion had not produced experts in the last couple of years, it had the full support of the royal family from the Tianzong dynasty and the tacit support of the alchemy school. Its overall strength was still much greater than it had been and it had become the top power in the Tianzong dynasty. The Sword Marquis mansion had been thriving, but that had changed dramatically a few days ago. A powerful, mysterious expert had broken into the Sword Marquis mansion and captured all its clansmen. Chapter 589, Jian Wushuang, where are you? Chapter 589, Jian Wushuang, where are you? At Sword Marquis mansion, hundreds of clansmen stood on the huge drill ground. Jian Xinhong, the mansion master of the Sword Marquis mansion, led the elder. A beautiful woman named Jian Menger stood among the crowd. Everyone present shared the same pale expressions at the moment. Looks of fear, anger and hatred were directed towards a wicked man who sat on a stage at the drill ground. The wicked man was clothed in a scarlet robe and had a demonic appearance. He flew through the clansmen one by one with a playful smile. Jian Xinhong, 3 days have already passed, have you decided? The scarlet-robed man stared at Jian Xinhong and his voice echoed coldly through the drill ground, tell me where the ancestors' land is. Jian Xinhong took a deep breath. He raised his head, glanced at the man and slowly shook his head. Solemnly, he answered, I don't know. You don't know? The scarlet-robed man gave him a glacial look, boom. A monstrous aura rose and rushed towards Jian Xinhong. This aura was only on the 8-cloud realm level, but for Jian Xinhong who only just broken through the Yin Void realm, it was overwhelming. The scarlet-robed man had only emitted a little aura, but it was already powerful enough to make Jian Xinhong suffer. Plop! Jian Xinhong was unable to control the balance of his body. Unwillingly, he knelt in front of the scarlet-robed man and bowed his head low. His mouth was full of blood and he could sense that his organs had shifted from the effects of the aura. Devil! You are a devil! Bastard! His clansmen were enraged when they witnessed their master suffer the humiliation. However, reason told them that they had to endure the shame. They could not fight him. Even if all the experts of the Sword Marquis mansion fought him as one, they wouldn't be able to hurt the scarlet-robed wicked man at all. Jian Xinhong. The scarlet-robed man had started to speak in a cold voice, Sword Marquis mansion is the only descendant of the bloodline of the Sword Ancestor. As the mansion master, you really don't know where the ancestors' land is? Jian Xinhong remained in his kneeling position with his forehead touching the ground. He stuttered, I indeed don't know, but even if I do, I will never ever tell you. Really? You really have a backbone? The scarlet-robed man sneered. In the next moment, the oppressive aura surged. This time, Jian Xinhong lay flat on the ground and blood flowed profusely from his pores. Soon he turned into a blood person and he lost consciousness from the excruciating pain. Rubbish. Are you really the descendant of the Sword Ancestor? I think you are just like a worm. The scarlet-robed man laughed coldly. He still had not exerted all of his aura. Although Jian Xinhong was unconscious, he was still alive. As the mansion master of the Sword Marquis mansion, he would be the only one who knew the whereabouts of the ancestors' land. That was why the wicked man had not killed him. You, the scarlet-robed man pointed at an elder and demanded, tell me where the ancestors' land is. I don't know, the elder gritted his teeth and shook his head. As soon as the elder's words died, the scarlet-robed wicked man waved his hand and a greenish-black viper flew out. This viper was a greenish-black long whip with hundreds of sharp greenish-black scales on its surface. As the scarlet-robed man waved, the whip hit the elder. The elder screamed and blood spurted from his mouth. The impact threw the elder against a stone wall at the edge of the drill ground. No one knew if he was still alive. "Elder Ing!" The clansman screamed. "Bastard, I am going to kill you." A burly clansman had yelled out. He waved his giant axe and slashed violently towards the scarlet-robed man. "Don't do it." The people around him tried to stop him, but it was too late. As soon as the clansman started his charge, the scarlet-robed wicked man struck as well. Chi! The greenish-black long whip struck through the clansman's heart and killed him instantly. "No!" A shrill cry issued from the crowd, but the burly man had been killed. "You, come here." The scarlet-robed man pointed to Jian Menger. "Didn't you hear me?" the scarlet-robed wicked man demanded. Jian Menger trembled and raised her head. Her pretty face was filled with panic, anger, despair and madness. She struggled to move forward 3 steps, then stopped. The scarlet-robed man stared at Jian Menger. He had licked his lips when he saw her beauty. He ordered, "Take off your clothes." Jian Menger raised her head in horror. Her eyes reflected her roiling emotions. The scarlet-robed man lost his patience when he saw her hesitate. He waved the greenish-black long whip, which flew towards a female toddler standing behind Jian Menger. As the whip passed over the girl's right hand, her arm was cut off. "Wow!" The girl shrieked in pain. "Linger!" Jian Menger stared at the man in fury. That girl was her daughter. "Take off your clothes, otherwise I'll cut her head off." The scarlet-robed man had a cruel expression on his face. I will do it." Jian Menger had a painful smile on her face. The anger, panic and madness had vanished, replaced by deep despair. Her hands slowly pulled her clothes down. Her eyes were hollow. She was like a puppet. However, a figure suddenly appeared in her mind. That figure had haunted her for years. As she plunged into despair, she thought about this person. She finally broke down in despair. "Jian Wushuang! Jian Wushuang! Jian Wushuang! You, where are you? Where the hell are you?" Chapter 590, Return. Chapter 590, Return. Jian Wushuang! Jian Wushuang! Jian Wushuang! Where are you? Where the hell are you? The forlorn and shrill voice reverberated through the area. Jian Menger had cried Jian Wushuang 3 times until her voice became hoarse. She had hated him to the core, but now, she wished that he would appear to save them as he had done many times before in the Nanyang continent. Besides Jian Menger, many clansmen here were also fervently crying a name in their hearts. This name was none other than Jian Wushuang. He was their pride and joy and regarded as a legend even in the entire Nanyang continent. Everyone hoped that this legend would show up to protect them. However, nothing happened even after Jian Menger's voice had faded. Jian Wushuang had not appeared. Despair. All the clansmen fell into despair. On the platform, the scarlet-robed man sneered as he heard Jian Menger's cries. He started to laugh after the cries had stopped. "Oh. Jian Wushuang. You're thinking of a loser who was forced to escape from the divine land. Huh. Ridiculous, very ridiculous." His manic laughter mocked Jian Menger. The scarlet-robed man was scornful of Jian Wushuang. He was Fire Ghost, one of the 72 marquises in the divine land. He was famous for his evil, so he had the nickname Evil Marquis. Of course, he was very powerful. He was known as the #1 Marquis among the 72 marquises. His battle strength was comparable to the 9 sovereigns. A marquis of his status would not care about an escapee who was hunted by numerous skyscraping realm experts. Idiots. Fire Ghost sneered as his laughter continued to reverberate. There were many experts outside the Sword Marquis mansion. Some of them came from the alchemy school, some were from the imperial house of the Tianzong dynasty. Their faces fell when they heard his laughter. I've heard of Evil Marquis. He is a supreme expert in the vast divine land. Now that he's taken Sword Marquis mansion as his target, it's impossible for them to survive, a white-haired elder said. Upon hearing this, Wang Yan, Di Shi, and Hong Shuzi frowned. Jian Wushuang had requested them to help him take care of Sword Marquis mansion, and they had fulfilled their promises. However, even the white-haired elder who was at the Cloud Realm could do nothing against the evil Marquis Fire Ghost. So what were they able to do? As for Jian Wushuang, I've never heard of him in the Divine Land. I'm afraid that he is not very famous and might not be very powerful. Even if he returns, it would be impossible for him to fight the evil Marquis. In that case, there is nothing we can do. Sect Master of the Alchemy School sighed as he shook his head. Silence descended on the drill ground in Sword Marquis Mansion. All the clansmen were in complete despair. A tragic smile appeared on Jian Menger's face. She slowly took off her clothes, revealing her pink underwear. Go on. Fire Ghosts stared at the girl with evil eyes. Jian Menger's hands shivered slightly as she slowly stretched her fingers to the silk ribbon on her underwear. Just as she was about to take off her last piece of clothing, a figure suddenly appeared in front of her. Jian Menger stopped. She had been in a daze. Now, she felt a surge of hope. You finally came. Jian Menger murmured. Her clansmen who had felt hopeless brightened up when they saw the figure appear. The grim drill ground was suddenly infused with vitality and hope. Fire Ghost perceived the great change. He was surprised that they were staring at something behind him, so he turned to have a look. What? Fire Ghost was shocked when he saw the figure in front of him. He had not been aware that the man had stood behind him for a while. You. Fire Ghost stared at this man. The man was dressed in a black robe and had a long sword on his back. His beautiful face shone with a flicker of coldness. Overwhelming killing intent radiated from him. Although it had not erupted, his killing intent was strong enough to shake Fire Ghost. If I'm right, you're the evil Marquis, the #1 Marquis in the Divine Land? Jian Wushuang said in an icy voice. He had hurriedly returned after being informed by Emperor Shao that Sword Marquis Mansion was in trouble. Having witnessed the scene in front of him, he was absolutely furious. He had rarely been as furious as this. Sword Marquis Mansion was his root. It was the place where he had been born and raised. His clansmen were his family. Fire Ghost was trampling on his family. His anger blazed. You are Jian Wushuang. Fire Ghost recognized him. You dare to come back? Jian Wushuang did not respond but glared at Fire Ghost. The next moment, his killing intent peaked and surged towards Fire Ghost with the force of a tsunami. The terrifying killing intent which contained Slaughter Dao instantly oppressed Fire Ghost. The force behind the attack felt like it came from a skyscraping realm expert. Pang! A huge pit suddenly appeared on the ground. Fire Ghost lay in the pit as the sound of breaking bones rang out in succession. Chapter 591, Blood Bladesman. Chapter 591, Blood Bladesman. No, impossible. Fire Ghost lay prostrate in the pit. The terrifying killing intent had suppressed him and shattered his bones. Blood poured profusely from his mouth. His face was red and there was unprecedented shock in his eyes. The oppression of the killing intent was similar to aura oppression. Just now, he had forced Jian Xinhong to fall and faint by using aura oppression. He was able to do this because he was much more powerful than Jian Xinhong. Now, this young man had just used killing intent to suppress him. It had been strong enough to cause him to fall and his bones to crack. How was that possible? Even the sovereigns or 3 ancestors were not as strong as this. Jian Wushuang, who had been forced to flee from the Divine Land, and who he held in contempt, had managed to perform this impossible feat. Fire Ghost was dumbfounded, but he suddenly had a strong desire to survive. Blood Blades Man! Master Blood Blades Man! Help me, please come help me! Fire Ghost roared. He knew that Blood Blades Man was hidden nearby and that he would come over if he noticed something happening here. If Blood Blades Man came, he would still have an opportunity to survive. The drill ground turned deathly silent. The clansmen looked at Jian Wushuang as they trembled in excitement. They had been yelling his name in their hearts. Their hero had finally shown up and his strength did not disappoint. Fire Ghost was a devil and very powerful, but compared to Jian Wushuang, he was as weak as an infant. Jian Wushuang had not even displayed any of his moves. He had merely used aura oppression on the evil Marquis to overcome him. What terrifying strength! What a frightening skill! How is this possible? Experts from the alchemy school and the imperial house of the Tianzong dynasty, and even the white-haired elder who had just returned from the divine land, widened their eyes in shock. This is the evil Marquis, who is the strongest among the 72 marquises. Sovereigns could defeat him, but they won't be able to do so using aura alone. Even if the legendary 3 ancestors show up, they might not have such a power. Under everyone's gazes, Jian Wushuang's gaze was steely as his killing intent violently pressed on Fire Ghost. Evil Marquis, Jian Wushuang said in a frosty tone, "You're still hoping that Blood Blades Man will come to your aid, right?" Fire Ghost was unable to move or speak under the oppression. "It's a pity," Jian Wushuang looked at Fire Ghost while shaking his head. "You won't have such an opportunity." Jian Wushuang raised his foot and stomped on his enemy's head. The terrifying power landed squarely on the panic-stricken evil Marquis. In the next moment, his head shattered into pieces. The famous evil Marquis, the #1 expert of the 72 marquises, died. He had trampled on the clansmen from Sword Marquis Mansion. Now, he had become a corpse. Jian Wushuang wore a grim expression as he surveyed the area. "Blood Blades Man, you've been watching for so long. It's time you revealed yourself." The moment Jian Wushuang finished his words, a figure flashed and appeared on the drill ground. The figure was a skinny elder who was as scruffy as a beggar and had a hint of evil in his eyes. Blood Blades Man was one of the skyscraping realm experts who had forced Jian Wushuang to escape from the divine land. He was also one of the murderers responsible for the death of the sword ancestor. Hey, I came here to try my luck. I wondered whether I'll be able to find the cave mansion sword ancestor left. It seems that I made the right decision." Blood Blades Man had an evil smile on his face. "Jian Wushuang, those old guys have been looking for you. They didn't expect that you've quietly returned. That's fine. Since you're back, I don't need to expend too much energy searching for sword ancestor cave mansion." Blood Blades Man stared with the young man, not concealing his surprise and delight. He had come to the Nanyang continent to get the location of ancestors' land from the clansmen in Sword Marquis Mansion. He had let evil Marquis torture the clansmen for 3 days, but he had not obtained what he sought. He had been disappointed and ready to give up, but Jian Wushuang had appeared. How could he not be happy? "Tell me. Where is the cave mansion?" "I'll spare your life if you tell me," Blood Blades Man said in an evil tone. "Blood Blades Man, are you done with your nonsense?" Jian Wushuang glanced at him, expressionless. Blood Blades Man sneered. "Boy, don't think you're powerful just because you've killed Fire Ghost. That's right. Your killing intent is strong. If I'm not wrong, you've comprehended Slaughter Dao, but that's only enough to deal with some Cloud Realm experts. It's useless against me. Stop talking." Jian Wushuang shook his head. He was tired of this elder's nonsense. His heart-killing sword appeared in his hand. He had been able to kill Fire Ghost with ease, but he now faced Blood Blades Man, a real skyscraping realm expert. Jian Wushuang would need to use his weapon if he wanted to kill the elder. His 330 feet golden sword Soul Phantom suddenly appeared behind him. The heart-killing sword lashed out. The 7th move of the heart-killing sword technique, Star River. The brilliant strike provided the only light in the entire area as it pierced through the void and appeared in front of Blood Bladesman. Its power erupted. Chapter 592, Blood Bladesman's Killing Move. Chapter 592, Blood Bladesman's Killing Move. Seeing his opponent showing his move, Blood Bladesman sneered. "You are not worried that your Sword Marquis mansion will disappear if we fight in there?" A fight between two powerful experts would cause a great commotion. They all had the battle strength of the skyscraping realm. If they had an all-out fight, the Sword Marquis mansion would not be strong enough to sustain it. Moreover, the two Saint Realm experts were unable to display their full strength in such a small place like the Sword Marquis mansion. However, Jian Wushuang was eager to battle and looked as if he was not worried about it at all. "You won't have such an opportunity." Jian Wushuang's frosty voice resounded through the area. The power of his sword shadow fully erupted into action. Boom! The space was split as his sword shadow appeared in front of Blood Bladesman. What? Blood Bladesman, who had remained calm and composed, was suddenly shocked by this sword shadow. He felt its terrifying power and immediately reacted. And the moment a blood-red saber appeared in his hand, he brandished it without hesitation. This attack contained a power that was strong enough to destroy the world. The cold and dazzling saber light lashed out. The two strikes smashed into each other. Bang! A deep sound of their impact resounded, which shook Blood Bladesman. How is that possible? Blood Bladesman looked at his hands, which were bleeding. The sharp pain rendered him unable to hold his blood-red saber. Had his saber been knocked away from just one attack? Their initial confrontation produced inconceivable power waves that were strong enough to ruin the entire Sword Marquis mansion. However, Jian Wushuang radiated a blast of terrifying aura to cover up the power waves. Boom! The power waves erupted, but no spectator got hurt as Jian Wushuang's aura had sustained it. It's impossible! Blood Bladesman was dumbfounded and could not believe it. How powerful this young man was! Even the sword ancestor at his peak might have been inferior to him. It was amazing that Jian Wushuang could have made such rapid progress in such a short period of time. It had been less than a year since he was forced to leave the Divine Land. But now, he had gotten stronger than the sword ancestor. Go to hell! Jian Wushuang ignored his opponent's shock and attacked him again. Blood Bladesman went pale, a sense of crisis rising in his heart. You want me to die? You go first. Blood Bladesman suddenly roared as he waved his hand. A blood shadow flew across the void. Jian Wushuang recognized it the moment it dashed out. It was a sharp scarlet dagger and was quickly approaching. It moved so fast that it would be difficult for Jian Wushuang to avoid this attack. Nevertheless, he did not intend to dodge it. Upon seeing this, Blood Bladesman showed a frosty smile. Die! Blood Bladesman cried, his face twisting with ferocity. He was famous for the blood saber. Many people thought his blood saber was the blood-red saber that he used. Actually, he was called Blood Bladesman because of this moving scarlet dagger. That dagger was his real killing move. He had used it to kill many powerful opponents since he started his cultivation. He had saved the day many times by using it, so he thought it would also help him this time. This scarlet dagger with terrifying power crashed into Jian Wushuang. It pricked his clothes and landed on his chest, leaving just a light white mark there. The smile on Blood Bladesman's face froze at once. My scarlet dagger has only left a white mark on the young man's chest? It didn't prick his skin. This, Blood Bladesman was petrified. At this point, the cold sword shadow that Jian Wushuang displayed charged smoothly and pierced Blood Bladesman's body. This skyscraping realm expert, who had a good reputation in the ancient world, died. Jian Wushuang stood on the ground as he touched that white mark on his chest, with a hint of scorn flashing through his eyes. Blood Bladesman's powerful killing move was able to kill skyscraping realm experts who came from the Divine Land or other plane worlds and did not have powerful bodies. However, under the attack of his killing move, skyscraping realm experts in the monster continent, like the 33 temple masters from the Monster Exterminating League, could be seriously injured, but even the weakest would not die. Human warriors from the monster continent were more powerful than warriors from the other plane worlds. Jian Wushuang had a terrifying body, so he was not hurt by Blood Bladesman's killing move. He walked toward Blood Bladesman and waved his hand to take the interspatial ring, Blood Red Saber, and Scarlet Dagger. Then, he said while looking downward, "Blood Bladesman, don't worry. You are just the first one. It won't take long for someone to accompany you. Those skyscraping realm experts who had attacked the Sword Ancestor and forced me to flee from the Divine Land, I'll kill them all. And Su Ming, I won't forget him. I'll get my revenge on all of them, one by one." Jian Wushuang clenched his hands and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Numerous clansmen were staring at Jian Wushuang in admiration. This legend in their eyes had appeared at a critical moment and killed all the enemies with his heaven-defying strength. He had not disappointed them indeed. At this point, Jian Wushuang turned to look at his clansmen. The first one that he saw was Jian Menger. He calmly looked at Jian Menger, who wore a complicated expression on her face. Then he waved his hand and threw an elixir to her. Chapter 593, Returning to the Ancestors' Land. Chapter 593, Returning to the Ancestors' Land. This elixir can regenerate broken limbs. Give it to the little girl. Jian Menger was stunned. Then she took the elixir and, being surprised and delighted, walked toward the little girl whose arm had been cut off by Fire Ghost. "Liner, take it. Be quick." Jian Menger's voice trembled as she spoke. The little girl was crying in pain. And after she swallowed the elixir, her severed arm started regrowing again. She quickly made a full recovery. Upon seeing this, Jian Menger cried out joyfully as she gratefully looked at her savior. Jian Wushuang gave her a glance but said nothing, then he went over to Jian Xinhong. Jian Xinhong, who had fainted because of the aura suppression, had still not regained consciousness. Jian Wushuang bent over and gave Jian Xinhong an elixir that emitted a light scent. He had many high-level elixirs, which were his trophies from the Divine Land and Monster Continent. Jian Xinhong did not wake up, but he looked better after taking the elixir. Jian Wushuang felt relieved and then stood up, finding his clansmen walking toward him and gazing at him in admiration. He breathed deeply and said solemnly, "Everyone, I'm back." Jian Wushuang quickly helped the Sword Marquis Mansion turn the corner and recover to a normal condition. Although Fire Ghost had tortured those clansmen for several days, only a few of them got killed, so the Sword Marquis Mansion did not suffer great losses. One day later, Jian Xinhong woke up. Jian Wushuang sat in the front of the meeting hall accompanied by Jian Xinhong, who looked a bit pale, while those elders, including Jian Menger, stood below. Besides them, experts from the alchemy school, Di Shi, and Hong Shuzi were also present at the meeting. "My little friend, Wushuang, when you left, you asked me to take care of the Sword Marquis Mansion, but today. Alas, I'm sorry." Hong Shuzi sighed. "I'm also sorry," said the sect master of the alchemy school, Wang Yan. 2 days ago, our alchemy school received the news that the Sword Marquis Mansion was in trouble, so I immediately sent a Saint Realm expert here, but I didn't expect that the enemy would be so powerful. He killed my elder in just a single move. It was the truth. A Saint Realm expert from the alchemy school had tried to protect the Sword Marquis Mansion, but he was killed by Fire Ghost with only one move. Everyone, regarding this matter, I understand. Fire Ghost was the supreme expert in the Divine Land. It's understandable that you were unable to resist him, Jian Wushuang said without a hint of blame in his tone. Upon hearing this, Wang Yan, Hong Shuzi, and the other experts felt relieved. They had been afraid that Jian Wushuang would vent his anger on them, but obviously, Jian Wushuang was not such a person. "My little friend, Wushuang," Fire Ghost had forced those clansmen to tell him the location of the Ancestors' Land. "It seems that many people have been targeting the Ancestors' Land," said a white-haired elder who had just returned from the Divine Land. "Right, there are many experts and they're also supreme beings. But don't worry, Jian Wushuang continued in an icy voice, I'll go to the divine land and kill them all. Jian Wushuang was filled with killing intent. He was remembering all of those experts who had forced him to flee. After staying there for a day, Jian Wushuang was about to leave. Mansion Master, I'll leave my blood puppet in the Sword Marquis mansion. If anyone attacks our mansion, you can use this blood puppet to repel them. He had received this blood puppet from the ancestors' land. When he had just arrived at the divine land, the blood puppet had greatly helped him and had saved him several times. Nevertheless, with the improvement of his strength, the blood puppet became almost no use to him. Jian Wushuang was easily able to kill an 8-cloud realm expert, or a sovereign, or even a skyscraping realm expert, so there was no need for him to use this blood puppet. It could be a good choice to let this blood puppet be the trump card of the Sword Marquis mansion. Jian Wushuang also gave Jian Xinhong many blood gems, which were enough to activate the blood puppet many times. After everything was arranged well, Jian Wushuang set off. Jian Wushuang did not return to the divine land, but instead, he went to the ancestors' land. The abyss and the innumerable huge mountains. Although Jian Wushuang had been here many times, he had never perceived anything special and only felt that the abyss was mysterious because he had been weak at that time. However, this time, he was able to see it through with only one glance. This abyss is actually a formation. Jian Wushuang was astonished, but he immediately realized that this formation was aimed at avoiding the exploration from other experts. This formation is exquisite. If I had not visited here several times and learned its secret, I would not have found out that the Sword Ancestors' cave mansion was in the abyss. I might have thought that it's only an ordinary dangerous place. Jian Wushuang sighed. The skyscraping realm experts who killed the Sword Ancestor almost turned the plain world over searching for the Sword Ancestor cave mansion. They had also launched a search in the Nanyang continent, but they gained nothing because of the protection of this formation. Jian Wushuang stepped into the abyss without a second thought. The moment he landed on the ancestors' land, the two puppet fighters, Jin Ling and Mu Shan, walked over. Jian Wushuang, this is... Jin Ling and Mu Shan stared at Jian Wushuang with an odd expression. They could tell that compared to several years ago, Jian Wushuang had greatly changed. They were not clear about how many changes that he had made, but they knew that the young man was now much more powerful than before. Chapter 594, The Last Test. Chapter 594, The Last Test. It's been many years since we met last. How are you? Jian Wushuang asked in a toneless voice. Jian Wushuang, it hasn't been that long. You're already back from the divine land? Jin Ling responded with a hint of surprise. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. He had not only returned from the divine land, he had even traveled to the monster continent. I come to take the third test, Jian Wushuang said. There were 3 tests in the ancestors' land and he had passed the second test before he left the Nanyang continent, so only the third test remained. The third test is difficult, but looking at you, you're pretty confident, right? Jin Ling stared at Jian Wushuang curiously. A little bit. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. He was now even stronger than Sword Ancestor, who had been at his peak. Therefore, he was capable of passing all the tests Sword Ancestor left. Follow me. Jin Ling and Mu Shan led the way, quickly arriving at the deepest part of the ancestors' land. A fathomless long tunnel appeared in front of Jian Wushuang, with a lilac restriction covering its entrance. This restriction was extraordinarily powerful. Anyone that wanted to enter the tunnel had to break it. This tunnel is connected to the real core of the ancestors' land, where Sword Ancestor left his things. Jin Ling said, as for the third test, it should be this restriction, but I'm not sure about it. After all, Mu Shan and I are unable to enter this tunnel, so we don't know if there are other tests inside. Really? Jian Wushuang frowned as he looked over at the lilac restriction. He started to approach it. Jian Wushuang, this restriction is quite powerful. It has an amazing defensive and offensive power. You should be careful. Jin Ling, who was still in the process of speaking, was suddenly stunned. Mu Shan was also petrified. They watched as Jian Wushuang casually punched the restriction. As for the result, the powerful restriction instantly collapsed in front of their eyes. He smashed the restriction with a casual punch. Is it really that easy? Both Jin Ling and Mu Shan cried in shock. As far as they knew, if an expert wanted to break the restriction, he had to at least reach the sovereign level. Sovereigns were supreme experts in the divine land. Jian Wushuang must be stronger than a sovereign since he broke the restriction with a single punch. It's amazing for Jian Wushuang to have made such rapid progress in such a short period of time. So fast. Jin Ling could not hold back her surprise. They had witnessed Jian Wushuang grow up step by step. When he initially arrived here, Jian Wushuang was so weak that he was not even qualified to do the first test. Now, after a dozen years had passed, his strength had reached an incredible level. The third test is a piece of cake, Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. He had narrowly escaped death when he was taking the first and second test. However, it was too easy for him to pass the third test. What will you do, wait for me or go inside with me? Jian Wushuang turned to look at the two puppet fighters. We'll stay here and wait for you, Jin Ling replied. Jian Wushuang shrugged his shoulders and walked inside. The dark tunnel was not long, so it wasn't long before a shabby secret chamber came into view. Jian Wushuang stepped into the secret chamber and immediately saw two tokens on the table in the front of the chamber. Other than the two tokens, there was nothing in there. Jian Wushuang approached while observing the tokens. The first one was a gold token which radiated magic power in waves. It looked very mysterious in his eyes. Two gilded words were carved on it, Ancient World. The Ancient World token. Jian Wushuang immediately understood. Emperor Shao had said that the Sword Ancestor had prepared an Ancient World token for him. It should be this one. This is the Ancient World token. Jian Wushuang picked up the gold token and studied it for a while, but he could not figure it out. All he knew was that the power surrounding the token was similar to space waves. Countless skyscraping realm experts all desire this Ancient World token. Jian Wushuang sighed while shaking his head. Because of it, the Sword Ancestor had been hunted by so many skyscraping realm experts and eventually died. Now, Jian Wushuang had received this Ancient World token that the Sword Ancestor left. It could be said that the Sword Ancestor sacrificed himself to give the young man an opportunity. Jian Wushuang put this Ancient World token into his interspatial ring and then looked at the second token. It was an ordinary message token. Jian Wushuang smashed it and a message came out. I'm Jian Chen. Jian Wushuang was a bit surprised, but he immediately realized that this token contained some information Sword Ancestor left. Jian Wushuang began listening carefully. I was born aloof and proud, so I would rather die than surrender to my enemies. I accidentally received an Ancient World token, but the news leaked out, causing numerous skyscraping realm experts to chase. They wanted me to hand over the Ancient World token. However, I'd rather die or destroy the Ancient World token than give it to them. Sword Ancestor told his story and left several words for his descendants. He really was quite stubborn. Jian Wushuang said to himself. Sword Ancestor mentioned that he was too obstinate. Even when he was seriously injured and unable to fight back against the numerous skyscraping realm experts, he would rather destroy the Ancient World token than hand it over. As a result, he was killed by those skyscraping realm experts. If he had not been so stubborn, he would not have been killed. That's his nature. Jian Wushuang sighed as he shook his head. Sword Ancestor, don't worry. As for those people who murdered you, I'll kill them all. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands, slightly bowed to space in front of him, and then left. Chapter 595, Marquis Lanue. Chapter 595, Marquis Lanue. Jian Wushuang left the Ancestors' land after obtaining the Ancient World token. Next. It's time to go to the Divine Land. Killing intent flashed in his eyes. However, there were no wormholes connecting the Nanyang continent to the Divine Land, so Jian Wushuang had to travel there on foot. The first time he went, it had taken him a year to travel to the Divine Land. He was weak at that time, so he walked slowly, not to mention that practicing on his way to the Divine Land had also delayed him. But now, he had become much more powerful. It only took him several days to arrive at the Divine Land. There was an exquisite pavilion named the Heaven's Secret Pavilion. It had a good reputation in the Divine Land because it was said that 4 marquises and a sovereign guarded it. The Heaven's Secret Pavilion was known for being the #1 intelligence organization. In a secret chamber of the Heaven's Secret Pavilion, a black-robed elder respectfully handed Jian Wushuang a pile of documents that were filled with information. "Sir, this is what you need." Jian Wushuang paid with raw gems and then flipped through it by himself. It provided detailed information about what had happened in the Divine Land during the period while he was gone, including the rise and fall of experts. It also contained some information on the 3 ancestors. Jian Wushuang kept reading. The greatest change in the Divine Land was that a 4th ancestor appeared. It was Su Ming. Su Ming had fought with Blind Emperor. As a result, he made a breakthrough to the skyscraping realm at a critical moment and killed Blind Emperor. Since he had reached the skyscraping realm, he was qualified to become an ancestor. He should have been named Sword Ancestor, but there had been a Sword Ancestor in the Divine Land, so Su Ming had to use another title, Sword Demon. Currently, the 4 ancestors were the Holy Ancestor, the Spirit Ancestor, the Stone Ancestor and the Demon Ancestor. They were the topmost existences in the Divine Land. The number of sovereigns had also lessened to 8 because of Su Ming's promotion. Some small changes had occurred among the marquises while Jian Wushuang was away, but there were still 72 marquises in the Divine Land. Jian Wushuang glanced through the information about the marquises, but he did not pay them any mind until he came across a name that amazed him, Marquis Lanue. Marquis Lanue. Jian Wushuang carefully read her information. After a while, a meaningful smile grew on his face. That little girl has grown a lot over the last few years. On a magnificent mountain range stood a towering mansion, which was the residence of Marquis Lanue, one of the 72 marquises. As a peerless genius, she had rapidly risen to become a marquis over the last few years. It was said that Marquis Lanue was just 30 years old. She had amazing talent when she was a child, but she had been afflicted by witch poison for several years. Ever since she had been detoxified, her talent had started to recover and she had improved at an unbelievable speed. Currently, she had made a breakthrough from a Saint Realm expert to a famous marquis. On the empty ground of this mansion, a cyan-dressed lady was practicing her swordsmanship alone. She looked gorgeous, possessing both a heroic spirit and a sexy figure while radiating a peerless charm. However, the sword moves she displayed were swift and powerful. Each sword shadow she launched was as fast as lightning and strong enough to kill an ordinary lord. This cyan-dressed lady was Marquis Lanue. Shwa! The cold streak of sword light lashed out and pierced the air before her, causing sword essence waves to spread out. Nice! A toneless voice came from nearby. Marquis Lanue was a bit surprised as she looked over at the source. When she saw the black-robed youth with a long sword on his back staring at her, her pretty eyes suddenly bulged wide. "Master?" Marquis Lanue cried out, looking surprised and delighted. "You've already become a marquis, but you still remember me?" Jian Wushuang replied with a faint smile. Marquis Lanue quickly walked over. "Master, I pay my respects to you." Marquis Lanue knelt down and bowed to her master with respect. She was Lin Lan. Jian Wushuang had accepted her as his disciple right after arriving at the Divine Land. At that time, Jian Wushuang had used the heavenly creation skill to refine her witch poison, allowing Lin Lan the ability to start a new life. Then, he had helped Lin Lan break off the engagement with the Luo family. Those things were engraved in her mind. Although she was a marquis and had a high status in the Divine Land, she had never forgotten her master who had helped her so much. After all, her master changed her fate. "Get up." Jian Wushang gestured to his disciple before Lin Lan stood up. When I left, you had just barely made it to the Saint Realm, but now you've reached this level during the last few years. It's brilliant. Jian Wushang acclaimed. He marveled at his disciple's achievement. Lin Lan responded with modesty, all my achievements are because of you, master. I just helped you clear the witch poison. As for what you've achieved, it's because of your own ability. It's none of my business. Jian Wushang shook his head and continued, I've seen you practicing your swordsmanship. You're good. Master, thanks for your compliments. That swordsmanship, Lin Lan had not finished her words yet. Little Lan. A cry was heard, then a red-haired man slowly walked over. Dear, come here. Lin Lan instantly went to pull her husband toward her master. Dear, this is my master, the one I've mentioned a lot to you. Chapter 596, Zizhong. Chapter 596, Zizhong. Your master. Upon hearing this, the red-haired man glanced at the young man. You are swordsman, the red-haired man said in a flat toneless voice, my wife has talked about you. You helped her when she was afflicted by the witch poison, so she owed you a debt of gratitude. Since you've come. The red-haired man took out an interspatial ring and handed it to the young man. There are many treasures inside it, which is equivalent to the possessions of a superior lord. That's my reward for your kindness. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushang frowned, but he did not accept it. Dear, Lin Lan shot her husband a disgruntled look, then said, Master just came to visit me, he didn't come to ask me for treasures. What are you doing? Stop talking. Master helped me and gave me a new life, which can't be paid for with treasures. Really? The red-haired man replied as he threw a disdainful glance at Jian Wushang. In the red-haired man's eyes, Jian Wushang would not have paid a visit if he had not wanted something from them. He had seen too many people like this. He knew that his wife should pay a reward to her master, but things would be different if her master took the initiative and asked for something in return. The red-haired man also learned about how Jian Wushang helped his wife. In his judgment, Jian Wushang was probably a Saint Realm expert who was at stage 2 or stage 3 at that time. Therefore, he did not put Jian Wushang in his eyes. He thought that all the possessions of a superior lord would be a pretty penny for Jian Wushang and that it was enough to show his appreciation. Jian Wushang was annoyed and amused when he saw the red-haired man's expression. He had intended to see whether his disciple was well, but he was treated as a beggar by her husband. Disciple, this is your husband? Jian Wushang asked with a meaningful smile. Yes, he is Gaiyang. Lin Lan responded awkwardly. Marquis Gaiyang. Jian Wushang was a bit surprised. He had heard about him. As one of the 72 marquises, Marquis Gaiyang was irritable and straightforward. He had lived in this world for a long time and experienced a lot, so he thought less of Jian Wushang. Marquis Gaiyang, take back your interspatial ring. Jian Wushang spoke. What? It's not enough? Marquis Gaiyang asked. Jian Wushang forced a smile. If he had not noticed Lin Lan's imploring look, he would have given Marquis Gaiyang a slap. At this point. Gaiyang. Lan Yue. A resonant voice reverberated. Marquis Gaiyang looked up to the sky, said, Little Lan, my friend is here. Let's go to greet him. Okay. Marquis Lan Yue knew this friend and did not dare to take it lightly. Master, please wait for a moment, she said to her master. Go ahead. Jian Wushang waved his hand. Little Lan, hurry up. Don't let him wait long. Marquis Gaiyang urged his wife. Marquis Gaiyang and Lin Lan glided away. After a while, Jian Wushang saw them slowly approaching with a muscular purple-robed man. When he saw the purple-robed man clearly, Jian Wushang's expression became a bit odd. Is it him? Unbelievable. Now, things are getting interesting. Jian Wushang thought with a meaningful smile. In the sky, Marquis Gaiyang and Lin Lan walked side by side. Bro Zizhong, it's all thanks to you. Because of you, my wife and I will be able to go to the Holy Ancestor Feast. Now that you've come here, we will definitely treat you well. Gaiyang, we have been friends for many years. Such a little thing is not worth mentioning, the purple-robed man said with a faint smile, but speaking of this Holy Ancestor Feast, many experts will attend it and even some super experts outside of the Divine Land have been invited, so we're lucky to get a look at the super experts in the party. Right. The Holy Ancestor Feast is the greatest feast in our Divine Land, Marquis Gaiyang proclaimed. Lin Lan quietly listened to their conversation. The three of them quickly flew into the mansion. The moment they landed on the ground, the purple-robed man immediately recognized Jian Wushuang. He was stunned. He stopped as he widened his eyes, staring at the black-robed youth. An unprecedented terror struck his heart. Brother Zizhong, what happened? Marquis Gaiyang and Lin Lan looked over at the purple-robed man with a puzzled expression. It's you, the purple-robed man murmured while pointing at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang also considered him with a grim smile. Marquis Zizhong, long time no see. You're still looking well. Marquis Zizhong. Su Ming had sent Marquis Zizhong to kill Jian Wushuang. Although Jian Wushuang had been much weaker than he was now, Marquis Zizhong had still been unable to dispatch him. As a result, Marquis Zizhong had been forced to retreat and was almost killed by Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang did not expect to bump into Marquis Zizhong at his disciple's mansion. There was a big grudge between them. Jian Wushuang. The grim-faced Marquis Zizhong fixed his eyes on Jian Wushuang as he perceived the Cloud Realm aura on this young man. He has made a breakthrough. Marquis Zizhong was rocked. Even when he was in the Saint Realm, Jian Wushuang had been able to repel him, so he must be even more powerful now after the breakthrough. Run! Marquis Zizhong escaped without hesitation, ignoring Marquis Gaiyang and Lin Lan. Since you're here, why are you in a hurry to leave? Jian Wushuang's cold laughter resounded through the area. Chapter 597, The Bone Fusion Technique. Chapter 597, The Bone Fusion Technique. Since you're here, why are you in a hurry to leave? Marquis Zizhong immediately perceived a surge of unprecedented killing intent sweeping toward him. Marquis Zizhong came to a halt as his eyes bulging wide with fear and he found himself wet with sweat. At this point, he felt like he would fall into the abyss if he took another step forward. Jian Wushuang snorted. His voice smashed into Marquis Zizhong like a hammer, causing the latter to spit out a mouthful of blood as he started to fall. Marquis Zizhong fell on the ground and knelt with an extremely pale look. Then he raised his head while staring at Jian Wushuang in terror. He knew Jian Wushuang had reached the Cloud Realm and that he was unable to match him, but he did not expect that his strength had improved to such an unbelievable level. The young man's killing intent was strong enough to make an 8-Cloud Realm Marquis unable to resist. He did not know that Jian Wushuang had used his aura to suppress and defeat Fire Ghost, who ranked first among the 72 Marquises, let alone him. Sir, please have mercy. Marquis Zizhong implored him, ignoring his own face. Upon seeing this, Marquis Gaiyang and Lin Lan were petrified. What did they just witness? Marquis Zizhong begged for mercy. Master, Lin Lan looked over at Jian Wushuang in excitement. Your master, Marquis Gaiyang was struck dumb. He had thought Jian Wushuang paid a visit to them because Lin Lan had become a marquis, but now Jian Wushuang paid no attention to this couple. He threw an icy stare at Marquis Zizhong. Zizhong, honestly answer my questions. If I'm in a good mood, I might let you go. Okay, I'll tell you what I know. Marquis Zizhong was as obsequious as a dog. He was clear that his life was in Jian Wushuang's hands. You've followed Su Ming. Do you know where he is? Jian Wushuang asked. The intelligence documents he received did not mention where Su Ming had gone after he became the demon ancestor. Master Su Ming left for other plane worlds. As for his destination, I don't know that either, Marquis Zizhong replied. Left? Jian Wushuang frowned slightly. The reason why he returned to the Divine Land was to take revenge. There was no doubt that Su Ming was the enemy he hated the most. He did not expect that Su Ming had left the Divine Land. I've got a problem. Jian Wushuang was deep in thought. There are countless plane worlds in the ancient world. Who knows where he is? I'm afraid that I will have to spend more time and energy to find him if I want to have my revenge. He shook his head, saying, You just mentioned the Holy Ancestor Feast. What is that? The Holy Ancestor Feast is an ordinary party the Holy Ancestor hosts, Marquis Zizhong answered. It's being held to celebrate the Holy Ancestor's 2000th birthday. Many experts from the Divine Land will attend it, and it's said that even a few supreme experts from the outside worlds will come. Oh? Jian Wushuang was intrigued. In that case, I won't have to look for those supreme experts one by one. This will save me some time. Jian Wushuang looked over at Marquis Zizhong while asking, Can I go to the Holy Ancestor Feast? Yes, of course. Marquis Zizhong shook his head. Sir, I'll arrange it for you if you'd like to go there. Okay, if you do that for me, then we will have a clean slate. However, if you try to play some tricks, you'll die without a doubt. You know that no one in the entire Divine Land is able to prevent me from killing you, Jian Wushuang warned. I won't dare to. Marquis Zizhong, who had already been terrified by the young man's strength, immediately left to deal with it. Lanner. Jian Wushuang addressed Lin Lan. Master. Lin Lan responded excitedly while her husband stood respectfully beside her. I need you to prepare something, Jian Wushuang whispered in her ear. After she was clear about her task, Lin Lan was stupefied. Go ahead. Jian Wushuang waved his hand. Lin Lan took a deep breath and then left to carry out the order. Jian Wushuang stood alone with his hands behind his back as he looked up at the sky, a blade-like smile growing on his face. 2000th birthday. He has lived so long. I guess it's about time for him to die. The Holy Ancestor Feast would begin in 3 days, so Jian Wushuang had remained in the Lin Lan's mansion during this period of time. Marquis Gaiyang had treated Jian Wushuang with respect ever since he discovered the real strength of the young man. During those days, Jian Wushuang had been trying his best to improve himself. Aside from he occasionally giving some guidance to his disciple. He had just made a breakthrough, so there was plenty of room for improvement. He had reached level 10 of the bone fusion technique before the breakthrough. Now, as he had made it to the 9-cloud realm, it was possible for him to reach level 11 and 12 with his superb body. It went smoothly. He had mastered the last 2 levels within 3 days. No one had reached level 12 in the history of the monster continent, but Jian Wushuang easily succeeded. What a pity. My body has reached its limit. Although I've mastered level 11 and 12, it only helped me enhance body's strength, so my body hasn't become any stronger. Chapter 598, Holy Ancestor Feast. Chapter 598, Holy Ancestor Feast. Jian Wushuang sighed in private. Flying to the 9th heaven was about reaching a flawless level in every aspect. As his body had now reached a flawless condition, he had to wait for a special chance to enhance the defense of his body. Which is to say, even if he could reach the 11th and 12th level at this moment, it would only increase his physical strength, not his body's defense. The Holy Ancestor Feast began. Holy Ancestor was a supreme being in the Divine Land, so no one would refuse to join the feast he held to celebrate his 2000th birthday. Among the 3 ancestors, except Su Ming who was in other plane worlds and could not be there, both Spirit Ancestor and Stone Ancestor were present at the feast. The other skyscraping realm experts also attended it. Dongming King and Qian Xingzi, who had participated in exterminating Sword Ancestor and forced Jian Wushuang away from the Divine Land, were there for the feast as well. Following them were the 8 sovereigns and the considerably powerful marquises. In short, the feast was of the highest level in the divine land. During the feast, all the experts gathered at a large martial arts practice field. Holy Ancestor sat at the top of the field in his white robe. He looked holy while basking in the sun, beaming with joy. Ladies and gentlemen, I've traveled around the Purple Jade continent only to gain the Purple Jade wine at any cost. I've never tasted any wine better than it. Now, fill up your cup and drink with me, Holy Ancestor said and held up his cup as his voice echoed throughout the field. Spirit Ancestor, Stone Ancestor, Dongming King, and Qian Xingzi, who sat beside him on both sides, all held up their cups. Those experts in skyscraping realm talked to each other. They had their own social circuit, which was also true for the sovereigns and marquises. The combination of the marquises and the Holy Ancestor's core disciples who were at the feast numbered in the hundreds. Among the crowd, Jian Wushuang hid his aura with his aura restraint skill and used a bamboo hat to conceal his face. Therefore, no one noticed him. Beside Jian Wushuang, Lin Lan, Marquis Zizhong, and Marquis Guion all sat perfectly straight at the long table. They looked at ease and even talked to other with a smile sometimes. But, in fact, they were quite nervous. They all knew Jian Wushuang's intentions and, in their opinion, it was a crazy idea. Those who should be present are all here. Jian Wushuang looked up at the top of the field, where over 8 skyscraping realm experts Saturday. Among them were the 3 ancestors and 5 experts from other plane worlds. Outside of Spirit Ancestor, the other 7 people are my enemies. Jian Wushuang pondered. He had confirmed that Spirit Ancestor was not among the murderers of Sword Ancestor. He even learned that Spirit Ancestor used to get along well with Sword Ancestor. Moreover, Spirit Ancestor had protected Sword Marquis Mansion from being destroyed. He never even tried to force Jian Wushuang to speak about the location of Sword Ancestor's cave mansion. Therefore, Jian Wushuang regarded this ancestor as his benefactor. However, the other 7 people had been involved in both events. 5 of them are at level 1 of the skyscraping realm while the other 2, Holy Ancestor and Dongming King, are at level 2. I'm strong enough to kill them all with my current power. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. A person's power differed in the skyscraping realm, so they were divided into 3 levels. Level 1 referred to the normal skyscraping realm. Most of the experts were at this level, like Blood Blades Man, who Jian Wushuang had killed, and most of the human temple masters. Level 2 referred to the superior skyscraping realm. Most people at this level had comprehended a Dao to a certain level and possessed some powerful skills. Temple Master Iceberg was at this level when Jian Wushuang killed him. As for level 3, only top experts could reach this level. They were excellent in comprehending the Dao and extremely powerful. The 3 monster emperors of Monster Continent, Temple Master Black Spirit, and Sword Ancestor were at this level. Normally, it was easy for those at level 3 to overpower those at level 2. The reason why Sword Ancestor had been killed by the dozens of experts at level 1 and 2 was because, before fighting with them, he had gotten seriously injured in the fight for the Ancient World token. However, he had been so powerful that even after his death, his murderers still did not get the token. Jian Wushuang believed himself to be a little more powerful than Sword Ancestor because he had reached the 9-cloud realm and had strongest sword soul, along with many secret skills. He was among the stronger ones at level 3. With such power, it was easy for him to kill 7 enemies in the level 1 and 2 range. Lanner. Jian Wushuang shot Lin Lan a meaningful glance. Lin Lan immediately stood up and walked to the center of the field. The drinking and chatting experts looked up curiously when saw Lin Lan's action. Marquis Lanyue, what's the matter? An expert asked her with a frown. Lin Lan did not answer him but looked up at Holy Ancestor. Holy Ancestor. Lin Lan called out and her voice echoed throughout the field. Holy Ancestor and the other experts sitting beside him immediately looked down at her. I came across a treasure by luck, but it's useless to me. Please allow me to present it to you as a birthday gift, Lin Lan said solemnly. Chapter 599, Jian Wushuang's Revenge. Chapter 599, Jian Wushuang's Revenge. Oh! Holy Ancestor and the other experts all smiled upon hearing Lin Lan's words. They were surprised to know that she just wanted to present a gift. Your honors, look! Lin Lan managed to stay calm. She waved her hand and a coffin made of amethyst immediately appeared before everyone's eyes. Yes, the gift was a coffin. After seeing the coffin, Holy Ancestor's smile froze on his face. The whole place became dead silent. Lin Lan continued, I personally selected this gift for you, Your Excellency. It is made of refined amethysts and can prevent your body from decaying for 1,000 years. I'm sure you will be comfortable in it after your death. Holy Ancestor looked grim as he listened to these words. The other experts all looked at Lin Lan in astonishment. The coffin might be a treasure in a manner of speaking, but it should never be given as a birthday gift. Bastard! Fury got the better of Holy Ancestor and, with a pat, he smashed the table in front of him to dust. Right at this moment, Jian Wushuang suddenly took off his bamboo hat and stood up from his seat, with a long sword on his back. He walked slowly to the center of the field, while speaking, Holy Ancestor, it seems that you are unsatisfied with my disciple's gift. Don't be greedy. The others won't be so lucky as to receive such a nice gift, he continued. As the sound of his voice came to an end, he had moved into the center of the field. A moment later, he raised up his head and released an overwhelming killing intent that dominated the whole area like a dragon flying in the sky. The place fell into dead silence again. The atmosphere became frigid. The fine wine, food, and objects on the tables were crushed into pieces under this killing intent and water drops kept flying in all directions. The feast looked more like a funeral at that moment because of the depressing atmosphere. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Jian Wushuang. Holy Ancestor, Stone Ancestor, Dongming King, and Qian Xingzi all gazed at him from their seats. Their eyes narrowed when Jian Wushuang revealed his face. Jian Wushuang! Holy Ancestor roared in an icy voice. Stone Ancestor and the others beside him, however, looked excited. It's him. He knows where Sword Ancestor's cave mansion is. Finally, he showed up. Huh, boy, tell me the location of Sword Ancestor's mansion and I'll spare your life. Those skyscraping realm experts all looked at Jian Wushuang with eager eyes, except Spirit Ancestor. His eyes betrayed his complicated feelings. Jian Wushuang smiled at them coldly. Those men are still coveting Sword Ancestor's mansion and ancient world token even while at death's door. Jian Wushuang shook his head. He had the heart-killing sword in hand and, behind him, the golden sword Soul Phantom rose up high to its limit. The phantom radiated a domineering and supreme sword essence that made the onlookers' hearts skip a beat. The ancestors' eyes became sharp. They could tell that Jian Wushuang was a lot more powerful than before. Holy Ancestor, Stone Ancestor, Dongming King, Qian Xingzi, Jian Wushuang called their names out, one by one. Do you still remember what I said last time on the outskirts of Sword Suppression Valley? After being asked, the ancestors could not help recalling what had happened in the valley. In fact, they never forgot this boy's words, the words that the poor boy had been forced to say by a dozen skyscraping realm experts. I'll never forget what you've done today. As well as how I was suppressed. Someday, when I come back, no matter if you're in heaven or hell, I'll kill you all. Wait for me. Those words had indeed felt threatening at the time, but as time passed they stopped taking it seriously. Now, Jian Wushuang really had come back for them. Hump. He can't change anything now that he's come back. He must have progressed a little during the last year. The ancestors still looked down on Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang looked at them emotionlessly as his killing intent reached its peak. I always achieve what I've said. So, today, since we are having a feast, I'll make your heads a cup and treat your blood as the wine. All of you must die. Jian Wushuang spoke firmly as if he was pronouncing their deaths. His voice echoed in the place for a long time. How arrogant! With the shout, a short man dived forward from his table. The man was called Qian Xingzi, one of the 5 experts from the other plane worlds. Boy, let's see if your power matches your arrogance. Qian Xingzi was surrounded by killing intent as he took out a purple longsword from somewhere. Then, he neared Jian Wushuang and thrust the longsword forward as well. The entire space was filled with a purple light. Qian Xingzi launched a single blow, but there seemed to be thousands of sword shadows rushing towards Jian Wushuang. Seeing this, Holy Ancestor hurriedly shouted, "Qian Xingzi, be careful. Don't kill him." "I know." Qian Xingzi looked grim. Though he was targeting Jian Wushuang's chest, he had restrained his power for fear of killing Jian Wushuang on spot. Why hasn't this boy make a move yet? Is he paralyzed? Qian Xingzi was amazed to see Jian Wushuang standing still while he was about to have a longsword pierce into his body. However, at the very next moment, Jian Wushuang moved. He simply swung his sword at Qian Xingzi without any skill. Chapter 600, Sweeping Away the Enemies. Chapter 600, Sweeping Away the Enemies. There was an amazing power behind Jian Wushuang's casual strike, which finally collided with Qian Xingzi's sword. Clang! When the two swords met, the sound of metal on metal echoed throughout the area as Qian Xingzi's sword became covered with cracks. What? Qian Xingzi was astonished by the cracks on his sword. His sword was a Dao weapon. How could it be cracked by Jian Wushuang's sword? As the cracks on the sword became wider, a sudden shattering sound dumbfounded him. The sword was split into 2 pieces. Qian Xingzi could not believe what had happened. How could that be possible? He was so astonished that he could not even think. Impossible! Holy Ancestor, Stone Ancestor, and the others all widened their eyes at the scene as they felt a chill rising in their hearts. After breaking Qian Xingzi's sword, Jian Wushuang continued moving forward to slash at him with all his power. Qian Xingzi was unable to dodge the blow and saw a flash of sword light before he was cut into 2 parts as well, with his organs scattering onto the ground and his blood covering the floor. "Qian Xingzi, you're only my second target." Jian Wushuang glared at the dead body indifferently. His first target, Blood Bladesman, had been killed already. After killing Qian Xingzi, Jian Wushuang looked toward Holy Ancestor and Stone Ancestor. Those 2 ancestors showed a grave expression while being watched. Jian Wushuang's weapon has to be extremely powerful to break Qian Xingzi's Dao weapon and kill him. He just demonstrated the power of an expert at level 3 of the skyscraping realm. Level 3. The onlookers could tell that Jian Wushuang was at a level as powerful as Sword Ancestor. They had all witnessed how mighty Sword Ancestor was, so in order to kill him, they had joined hands with dozens of experts. Now, Qian Xingzi's death left them with only 6 experts in total. Therefore, it was impossible for them to defeat Jian Wushuang with the remaining experts. Holy Ancestor, what should we do now? Stone Ancestor asked him in a low voice. It seems that we have no other choice but to escape from here, Holy Ancestor said unwillingly. They were unwilling to accept that the boy they had despised had grown so powerful in the last year. He had reached level 3, which few could achieve in the whole ancient world. As a result, Holy Ancestor, the 2,000-year-old super expert from the Divine Land, had to escape when facing such a young boy. What's worse, he might not be able to escape just because he wanted to. All of this added to his depression. Right then, a killing intent flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes, which then fell on Holy Ancestor and Stone Ancestor, before he made a move and his intent boomed. Quick, let's block him together. Dongming King quickly shouted. His aura kept surging as his face twisted crazily. At such a crucial moment, he still had not given up on possessing the ancient world token. Idiot! Holy Ancestor shot Dongming King a cold glance before turning away without hesitation. Seeing this, Stone Ancestor tried to flee with him. Run! Run! The other skyscraping realm experts had finally seen through their situation. Not being idiots, they started running away in a disorderly fashion. In an instant, 5 of the skyscraping realm experts began escaping, all except Dong Ming King. The sight of this caused the experts in the feast to be dumbfounded. They, Holy Ancestor and Stone Ancestor, the supreme experts, are trying to escape without even fighting. Jian Wushuang is just a Cloud Realm expert, isn't he? How could he force so many super experts to flee? It was so unbelievable. Some experts were so astonished that they even thought they were in a dream. Master! Hands clenched, Lin Lan stared at her master with admiration. Marquis Zizhong and Marquis Gaiyang, who had come to the feast with Jian Wushuang, both widened their eyes and could not help swallowing hard. Boom! A rolling blood river swept outward from Jian Wushuang and covered the whole place in an instant. I told you that none of you would escape from me. Jian Wushuang's voice resounded through the place as the heart-killing sword slashed out from his hand like a star crossing the sky. Dong Ming King managed to take a single strike from Jian Wushuang before being killed. As for the ancestors and the other experts who were trying to escape, they were slowed down by the blood river. What's worse, Jian Wushuang had quickly changed his target to them after he killed Dong Ming King. No! Those escaping experts looked pale. They knew very well that once Jian Wushuang caught up with them, they would definitely be killed. Run, run! They tried their best to run quickly, but 3 of them had already been killed by Jian Wushuang. Only Holy Ancestor and Stone Ancestor survived and were about to escape from the blood river. There is no escape for you too. Jian Wushuang released an outburst of killing intent. Though the 2 ancestors had made it out of the river and were running in different directions, Jian Wushuang was not going to let either one of them go. With a move, his body seemed to split for a second and 2 men appeared. One went after Holy Ancestor, while the other one followed Stone Ancestor. Many onlookers were stunned to see 2 Jian Wushuangs. There are two Jian Wushuangs. Chapter 601, Leaving. Chapter 601, Leaving. Yes, there were 2 Jian Wushuangs before their eyes. In fact, the 2 Jian Wushuangs they saw were his slaughter body and world body. The former had chased after Holy Ancestor with the heart-killing sword, while the later had gone after Stone Ancestor with the triple-kill sword. What? This can't be real. The escaping Holy Ancestor and Stone Ancestor looked grave when they saw the 2 Jian Wushuangs. They had thought that at least one of them could make it out alive if they kept running in different directions. But now, there were 2 Jian Wushuangs chasing after them. Holy Ancestor, you're dead. Jian Wushuang's slaughter body shouted when he caught up with Holy Ancestor with his higher speed and launched an attack. I'm dead. Holy Ancestor looked desperate. He knew he no longer had any chance surviving. He tried to struggle, but Jian Wushuang killed him in an instant. As for Jian Wushuang's world body, he caught up with Stone Ancestor as well but did not kill him directly. Jian Wushuang. Stone Ancestor looked at Jian Wushuang's world body in horror. Stone Ancestor. Jian Wushuang gazed back coldly and asked, "Where is your disciple Jiu Xiu?" Jiu Xiu, the person who had seized Jian Wushuang's father's sword soul and taken away his mother. Jian Wushuang had cursed this name 100 times, but to his confusion, he had not heard of this person even once after he entered Divine Land. He had expected that Jiu Xiu would join the feast with Stone Ancestor, but Jiu Xiu was not there. If I tell you, will you let me go? Stone Ancestor asked while staring at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's eyes became chilling. Without saying a word, he approached Stone Ancestor and struck out. Stone Ancestor was scared as he hurried to defend, but he still got hit. He began spitting blood as his face became extremely pale. Look, you are in no position to bargain with me. Just tell me where Jiu Xiu is, and maybe I'll spare your life. Otherwise, I'll kill you now. Jian Wushuang warned in a low voice. His eyes filled with despair. Stone Ancestor was one of the top experts in the Divine Land, but now he was in a desperate situation and he wasn't even able to decide his own fate. Fine. I'll tell you what you want to know, but I hope you will keep your word. Stone Ancestor continued in a deep voice. Jiu Xiu left the Divine Land several years ago, and he might have even left the ancient world. I really have no idea where he is now. Left the ancient world? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. No one can leave the ancient world at will. If that was possible, then you would not have fought so crazily for the ancient world token in order to leave here. You're lying. No, I'm not. Stone Ancestor shook his head. It's true that he has probably left the ancient world because of some connections he made after he caught a certain woman. A woman? Jian Wushuang's expression suddenly changed. He doubted that the woman was his mother. He had been told that his mother had left ancient world. She had probably been forced to leave with Jiu Xiu. If I'm right, then, where are they now? Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. He did not know the answer, but his father seemed to. In order to see his mother again, his father had stepped on a path of no return. A path that even Di Jing was scared to walk. I'm too powerless and probably nothing in the eyes of the people in the outside world. I have to leave the ancient world and enhance my power so that I can look for my mother, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. A moment later, killing intent filled his eyes as he looked at Stone Ancestor. Swish! Jian Wushuang attacked him without restraint. Bastard! Jian Wushuang, you broke your promise. Stone Ancestor shouted in fright. However, Jian Wushuang did not seem to hear his words. Even though his world body was less powerful than his slaughter body by a bit, it took him no effort to kill Stone Ancestor. He looked down at Stone Ancestor's body and spoke out sarcastically. Broke my promise? Humph. I'll always keep my word to my family and friends, but never to an enemy. How ridiculous of you to expect me, your enemy, to keep my word. Jian Wushuang laughed, then smashed the body before going back to the feast. In the sky above the martial arts practice field, the two Jian Wushuangs merged into one under the watchful eyes of everyone after they killed their targets. Jian Wushuang had wanted to hide this skill from others, but considering that few in the ancient world could be his match at the moment, he did not mind exposing it. When Jian Wushuang arrived back at the feast, he found Spirit Ancestor and said to him, Spirit Ancestor, thank you so much. You're the one who helped Sword Marquis Mansion survive over the years. Both me and our mansion, even the whole of Sword Ancestor's bloodline, owe you a big favor. Here is an interspatial ring. The treasures I got from Holy Ancestor and Stone Ancestor are all in it. Please take it. Jian Wushuang handed the ring to Spirit Ancestor. The Ancestor looked at Jian Wushuang with a smile, then nodded and accepted the ring without saying a word. The people in the feast were astonished to know that both Holy Ancestor and Stone Ancestor had been killed by Jian Wushuang. Two supreme experts in the Divine Land had been killed by the same person in a single day. Lanner. Jian Wushuang turned to Lin Lan and said, Follow me. Okay. Lin Lan nodded respectfully and followed him. Watching until Jian Wushuang left, the stunned experts finally regained their composure. The next moment, the whole place went into an uproar. Chapter 602, Bone Dragon Emperor. Chapter 602, Bone Dragon Emperor. Lanner, I'll be leaving the Divine Land soon and may even leave the ancient world as well. It will be quite a long time before I come back, Jian Wushuang said to Lin Lan. Master, you plan to leave here? Lin Lan was surprised to hear that. I can't guide you anymore, so you'll be on your own. This is an interspatial ring that contains some sword skills and experiences shared by some experts. It might be helpful. Jian Wushuang handed the ring to Lin Lan. After a moment of hesitating, Lin Lan accepted it. You lack experience, so, you must be careful when dealing with others in the future. Maybe someday I'll come back. At that time, I'll come to see you. After saying this, Jian Wushuang smiled at her and turned away. Master. Lin Lan trembled while watching Jian Wushuang's back. She has followed me for so long, but I've never taught her anything valuable. I'm not a conscientious master. Jian Wushuang sighed. When he was no longer in Lin Lan's sight, he stopped walking forward. Among all the people who participated in the murder of Sword Ancestor, I've only killed a small number of them. I have to hurry up, find the rest, and take revenge. After that, I'll need to prepare for the Firmament Territory Feast in 3 years, Jian Wushuang pondered. Including Blood Bladesman, he had killed 7 of them so far, but it would take him some time to find the rest. Senior Di Jing. Jian Wushuang took out a messaging slip and sent a message. Di Jing had given him this messaging slip before he left Monster Continent. Boy, are you in trouble? Di Jing's laughing voice echoed. Yes, I've got some trouble. Jian Wushuang told him his plan. Senior, you know, it will take me a rather long time to find all the people who helped the murder Sword Ancestor by myself and take revenge. I'm afraid I'll miss the Firmament Territory Feast while I'm busy looking for them. So, can you help me with this? That's easy. Wait there and someone will be along to help you. After saying this, Di Jing cut the connection. Jian Wushuang waited patiently for a half-day until an old figure appeared in front of him. The figure was a bald elder, skinny but serious-looking, with purple sigils on top of his head. Jian Wushuang, the elder spoke in an icy voice. You are. Jian Wushuang looked confused while staring at the elder. He was sure that he had never seen him before, but he sensed a familiar feeling from him. You don't recognize me? The elder looked at Jian Wushuang and asked. Oh, right. I look like a human being right now. Here, look at this. The elder took out a bell. A bell? Jian Wushuang paused for a moment, but quickly realized who the elder was. You're Senior Di Jing's mount. He recognized the bell. In fact, the bell was the top expert Bagu cave master, who had been transformed by Di Jing and been given to the mount as a toy back then. Jian Wushuang remembered that mount as a dragon-headed demonic beast. That's why he had failed to recognize the elder until he saw the bell. With no more words, the elder threw the bell into the air and the bell immediately transformed into a man. Naturally, it was Bagu Cave Master. Bone Dragon Emperor. The bad-tempered Bagu Cave Master stood in horror after returning to his human body and greeted the elder. Bone Dragon Emperor. Jian Wushuang looked toward the elder in surprise. He finally knew that the elder was also one of the 3 great monster emperors from the monster continent and was even the strongest one among them. He had never thought Di Jing could make such a powerful monster his mount. No wonder that Yang Zishuan was able to come to me with a dozen bone dragons before. Jian Wushuang, Bagu Cave Master, is one of the people who helped murder Sword Ancestor, so he knows every one of them. Just ask him what you want to know. He won't dare lie to us, the elder said to Jian Wushuang. Good. Jian Wushuang nodded and turned to Bagu Cave Master. So, just tell me who all the murderers are. Okay. Bagu Cave Master nodded heavily and started to speak. There are a total of 28 people from different plane worlds that participated in killing Sword Ancestor. Apart from me and Jiujie King from Tianyu World, who are at level 3, the rest of them are only level 1 or 2. They are Holy Ancestor and Stone Ancestor, from the Divine Land, Dongming King, from Luoyang World, Qian Xingzi from the Boundless Continent. Without pausing, Bagu Cave Master told Jian Wushuang the names of all the murderers. Among the 28, I've killed 7. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. Jian Wushuang. Bone Dragon Emperor looked toward him and chimed in, I'll find the remaining 20 people for you as soon as possible, but I hope you can leave Bagu Cave Master to me. I need him as a servant. No problem. Jian Wushuang nodded. For the sake of Bone Dragon Emperor, he would definitely spare Bagu Cave Master's life. Besides, he didn't think there was much of a difference between being a bell or being dead. I've issued an order to track them, so there will be a response in 2 days. Just wait, Bone Dragon Emperor continued. Okay, thank you, Senior. Jian Wushuang nodded. He could afford to wait for 2 more days. As someone at the peak of level 3, Bone Dragon Emperor was one of the supreme experts in the ancient worlds and the master of one of the top forces, so his men started tracking the other 20 people as soon as he gave out the order. The response really did arrive 2 days later. Chapter 603, 14 people killed one by one. Chapter 603, 14 people killed one by one. Jian Wushuang, these are the results. Bone Dragon Emperor stood before Jian Wushuang and said, 7 died in the past 1,000 years, either because of old age or killed in fights for personal grudges or treasures. Only 14 are still alive in the ancient world. 14. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly in acknowledgement. Usually, a skyscraping realm expert could live for 3,000 years. After 1,000 years had passed, it was normal that some of them had died. The 14 people alive are in different planes. I will take you to their locations. Bone Dragon Emperor said. Thank you so much. Jian Wushuang was grateful. Immediately, Bone Dragon Emperor led Jian Wushuang away. They arrived at the Ice-Fire world. It was a peculiar world, half filled with volcanoes and magma while the other half covered in ice and snow. Now, they were in the half-world of ice and snow. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang and the Bone Dragon stopped in the air, looking down upon the world below. There was nothing but ice and snow. According to my information, Ice Wing is meditating under the snowfield. Bone Dragon Emperor said. Well. Jian Wushuang nodded, I will flush him out. After saying that, he spread forth his supreme sword essence. Jian Wushuang drew out his heart-killing sword and slashed at the ground. Bang! The ground split in half, a rift opened and ice and snow fell into it. Who is disturbing me? A roar came from the deep underground, shattering the falling ice, and a terrifying being could be seen rising. Then a white-robed elder with frosted eyebrows appeared. Is he Ice Wing? Jian Wushuang took a glance at the white-robed elder and said, Ice Wing, 1,000 years ago, you and many other skyscraping realm experts killed Sword Ancestor for his ancient world token. Do you remember? Sword Ancestor. The white-robed elder's face fell, remembering the super sword talent 1,000 years ago. Yes, so what? Ice Wing snorted and said. My name is Jian Wushuang, a descendant of the Sword Ancestor. I come here today to seek vengeance for him. Therefore, you will die. After confirming his identity, Jian Wushuang acted directly without saying more. Ice Wing was just a normal level 1 expert at skyscraping realm. Having meditated for nearly 1,000 years, he had not improved too much. Therefore, Jian Wushuang killed him as easily as squashing an ant. 13 left. Jian Wushuang's eyes had a cold sharp glint. Bone Dragon Emperor, let's go to the next. Okay. Bone Dragon Emperor nodded, then they went to another plane through the wormhole. Time passed by, thanks to Bone Dragon Emperor's lead, Jian Wushuang killed all the experts involved in killing the Sword Ancestor. It was not difficult for Jian Wushuang to kill these level 1 and level 2 experts at skyscraping realm. After all, his realm skill could slow them, and at the same time, his own speed was fast. 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. To kill them was easy, but they had spent most of their time finding their locations. In the Tianyu world, Jian Wushuang was crazily battling Jiujie King over a great river. Those experts watching felt the whole world shake. Jiujie King, a level 3 expert at skyscraping realm, though weaker than Sword Ancestor, was not easily killed. Besides, he knew well when and how to flee. After a while, knowing he was weaker than Jian Wushuang, Jiujie King intended to flee. Though Jian Wushuang had used his realm, it was hard to stop him. At last, Bone Dragon Emperor lent a hand and stopped Jiujie King, so that Jian Wushuang could kill him. Except for Bagu Cave Master, who turned into a small bell of Bone Dragon Emperor, all other experts who were involved in killing Sword Ancestor had perished. Most importantly, Jian Wushuang killed most of them with relative ease. Time for the last one. A sharp light flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Though he didn't kill Sword Ancestor with his own hands, Jian Wushuang had the strongest killing intent against him. It was Su Ming, a traitor of the bloodline of the Sword Ancestor. It was he who leaked that Sword Ancestor had an ancient world token. It was also he who forced Jian Wushuang to leave the Divine Land. He was the one Jian Wushuang wanted to kill most. Jian Wushuang, I have discovered where Su Ming is. But there is going to be some difficulty in killing him. Bone Dragon Emperor said. Oh? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Su Ming had reached skyscraping realm not long ago. How could it be difficult to kill him? Su Ming joined Darkness Temple and now is the 9th Saint Master of Darkness Temple. If you want to kill him, you will need to negotiate with the Darkness Temple first. Bone Dragon Emperor explained. Darkness Temple? Jian Wushuang's face fell. During the last 2 months, he had been staying with Bone Dragon Emperor and had heard of some things about the ancient world from him. The ancient world consisted of different planes. Skyscraping realm experts from these worlds traveled from one to another and fought with each other. Gradually different forces formed. Each force was defended by skyscraping realm experts. For example, as the leader of one of the most powerful force in the ancient world, Bone Dragon Emperor was a super expert. The Darkness Temple was another powerful force in the ancient world. Chapter 604, The Strongest Expert in the Ancient World. Chapter 604, The Strongest Expert in the Ancient World. Although in overall strength, the Darkness Temple was weaker than the Bone Dragon Emperor's force, it had a strong and tyrannical temple master. He was called Dark Emperor. In the ancient world, Dark Emperor, Bone Dragon Emperor and Sir Ming were the top 3 experts. Each of them was much stronger than level 3 experts at Skyscraping Realm. They were considered to have reached level 4. As one of the top 3, even Bone Dragon Emperor could do nothing to Dark Emperor. Temple Master Black Spirit of Human League in the Monster Continent was an exception. Her own strength was at peak of level 3, nearly as strong as Sword Ancestor at his peak. But she possessed a relic from the Monster Exterminating League, a half-broken finger of God Hong. To use the broken finger placed a great burden on Temple Master Black Spirit's body, so she could at most use it twice. Once used, she could easily kill Bone Dragon Emperor and Dark Emperor. That's why Temple Master Black Spirit was feared on the Monster Continent. Even Bone Dragon Emperor dared not push her too much, worried that if she used the broken finger, at least one of them would be killed. Because of the broken finger, Temple Master Black Spirit was counted as one of the strongest in the ancient world. Jian Wushuang, Dark Emperor is arrogant, selfish and strong. The Darkness Temple's overall strength isn't the most powerful, but Dark Emperor indulges them by allowing them to be arrogant in the ancient world. Since Su Ming has joined the Darkness Temple, Dark Emperor surely wouldn't allow you to kill him. Bone Dragon Emperor said. Is there anything I can do? Jian Wushuang frowned and asked. There is. Bone Dragon Emperor looked at him and said, ask my master for help. Dark Emperor is as strong as me, but compared to my master, he is nothing. Ask Master Di Jing for help. Jian Wushuang shook his head, no hurry, it's better not to trouble him unless there is no other way. Okay, then maybe you can offer him a treasure he is interested in, that way he will not stop you because of his greedy nature, said Bone Dragon Emperor. A treasure he is interested in? Jian Wushuang had a sudden idea. Is there another way? Jian Wushuang asked. Or you could improve yourself to become as strong as me, then the Dark Emperor would be unable to stop you. I believe it will not take you long. Bone Dragon Emperor said. Understood. Jian Wushuang nodded. He left this option aside. Although it would not take him long to be strong as them, he had no time. He wanted to resolve his issues as soon as possible, so that he could go to Emperor Shao and prepare for the Firmament Territory feast. Jian Wushuang, what do you think? Bone Dragon Emperor looked at Jian Wushuang. Let's visit Dark Emperor first, I have a treasure and I don't know whether he is interested in it. If not, I will send a message and ask Master Di Jing for help. Jian Wushuang said. Okay, I will lead you there. Bone Dragon Emperor immediately set off. The Darkness Temple was in the Dark Continent, one of the many plane worlds of the ancient world. A boundless dark palace sat in mysterious dark fog. In a hall, deep in the palace, 3 people sat at a long narrow table and drank together. Among them, there was an evil man who was even more beautiful than many women. He was the man Jian Wushuang had been wanting to kill, Su Ming, a traitor of the bloodline of the Sword Ancestor. Ninth Saint Master, are you still thinking about Jian Wushuang? A regal lady in rich robes looked at Su Ming. Kind of. Su Ming said. Don't worry. Jian Wushuang may have killed many skyscraping realm experts, but those people had no or small backgrounds and they were normal skyscraping realm experts. You are different. The lady said with a smile. During the last 2 months, the news that Jian Wushuang and Bone Dragon Emperor killed 14 skyscraping realm experts had spread in the ancient world. Many people in the ancient world had heard of Jian Wushuang, including people in the Darkness Temple. Su Ming was the person Jian Wushuang wanted to kill the most, so he was also aware of this. Ninth Saint Master, you're a Saint Master of the Darkness Temple. My husband will protect you. Even if Jian Wushuang comes, what can he do? The lady laughed. I hope so. Su Ming nodded, but his face was still cold. I didn't expect Jian Wushuang had improved so much in less than a year. He is nearly as strong as that old guy at his peak. Hee, what a talented junior brother. Su Ming thought. But he did not care too much. He was the 9th Saint Master of the Darkness Temple now. If Jian Wushuang wanted to kill him, he had to get through the Dark Emperor first. Besides, he had a trump card, which he believed would save his life. Junior brother, you better be aware of the situation, otherwise. If you push me too much, I will use it. Su Ming's insidious face smiled. Chapter 605, Dark Emperor. Chapter 605, Dark Emperor. Bone Dragon Emperor led Jian Wushuang to the Dark Continent where the Darkness Temple was located. Is that Darkness Temple? Jian Wushuang looked at the boundless dark palace and perceived auras of multiple experts within. As a powerful force in the ancient world, Darkness Temple had many skyscraping realm experts. Darkness. Bone Dragon Emperor appeared above the Darkness Temple, spreading his aura. Shortly after, many figures emerged from the Darkness Temple. The leader was the black-robed middle-aged man, whose deep-set eyes sparkled in the darkness. Bone Dragon. Dark Emperor said with a husky voice and glanced at Jian Wushuang, are you Sword Emperor, the rising star? Nice to meet you, Jian Wushuang said with a hint of humility. Dark, since you know who he is, you must know why we are here, right? Bone Dragon Emperor said straightforwardly. I know. Dark Emperor said, you want to kill the 9th Saint Master? Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded and said, Dark Emperor, Su Ming is my sworn enemy, I hope you can do me a favor. Jian Wushuang, what do you think the Darkness Temple is? Dark Emperor stared at Jian Wushuang with cold eyes, I don't care what kind of resentment exists. Now that he is a Saint Master of the Darkness Temple, I will protect him. If you kill him, you will become an enemy of the Darkness Temple. Hearing that, Jian Wushuang and Bone Dragon Emperor looked at each other and were not surprised. Naturally, the Dark Emperor wouldn't easily allow them to kill Su Ming. Dark Emperor, I have a compass which is the key to finding an ancient world token. If you agree, I will give it to you. Jian Wushuang took out a light yellow compass. An ancient world token was definitely a treasure any skyscraping realm experts would crazily fight for. It allowed entry to the Firmament Territory Feast of the Eternal World. A compass, ancient world token. The Dark Emperor was a little interested in it. He looked at the compass in Jian Wushuang's hand and nodded, I know, it's left by Sectmaster Dong. People can find the ancient world token he left with the compass, but... Dark Emperor smiled coldly, Jian Wushuang, do you think I care about it? Ridiculous, I would not, even if it was an ancient world token. There are 5 ancient world tokens. You're a descendant of the sword ancestor, and the ancient world token he left must be in your hand too. Therefore, there are still 3 others in the ancient world. Luckily, I already have one. The Dark Emperor took out a token. Jian Wushuang looked at it and recognized that it was a real ancient world token. Has he got an ancient world token already? Jian Wushuang didn't expect this. He planned to entice Dark Emperor with the compass. Now it seemed the compass was useless to him. Jian Wushuang, are you trying to buy me over with a compass? Ridiculous, even if I didn't have one, I would not kill a Saint Master for an ancient world token. Dark Emperor sneered at him. This is troublesome. Jian Wushuang's look changed. Do I have to ask Master Di Jing for help? Wait a minute, let me have a try. Bone Dragon Emperor said to Jian Wushuang in a low voice, then he went to Dark Emperor. Dark. Bone Dragon Emperor came to Dark Emperor's side. Bone Dragon, are you trying to help him? Dark Emperor's face fell. He didn't care about Jian Wushuang. But Bone Dragon Emperor was different. No, I just want to tell you something. Bone Dragon Emperor smiled, lowered his voice and said. Jian Wushuang and those Saint Masters of the Darkness Temple were just looking quietly at them. They didn't know what Bone Dragon Emperor had told Dark Emperor, but they saw Dark Emperor's surprised look. A moment later, Bone Dragon Emperor went back to Jian Wushuang. Bone Dragon Emperor, what did you tell him? Jian Wushuang couldn't help asking. I told him your age. That is enough. Bone Dragon Emperor said with a smile. That's it? Jian Wushuang was surprised. Don't worry, Dark Emperor is clever. In a few years, you will probably be even stronger than him, then you can kill him easily. So he will not offend you for a Saint Master. Bone Dragon Emperor laughed and said. We have come to an arrangement that he will give you a chance to kill Su Ming, but you need to give him an out first. After all, he is the Temple Master. It's impossible for him to do nothing and let you kill the Saint Master. That's it? Jian Wushuang immediately understood. Dark Emperor above the Darkness Temple looked over at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, since Bone Dragon Emperor has solicited favor on behalf of you, I will give you a chance. Dark Emperor said, drawing out a long black spear, spreading an aura of power, I will attack you with the spear. As long as you can survive 3 moves of my spear, I will not stop you. Otherwise, you have only yourself to blame. 3 moves. Jian Wushuang immediately knew what he meant. Chapter 606, Secret Skill. Chapter 606, Secret Skill. Please go ahead, Jian Wushuang said. Look carefully, it's the first move. Immediately, 6 tall spear soul phantoms arose behind him. Just after Dark Emperor thrust his long spear, the phantoms did so too. Darkness spread and created an eddy as if it would swallow everything in the world. At the center of the eddy, the cold spearhead had rushed towards Jian Wushuang with an all-encompassing lethal force. Jian Wushuang looked grave. Behind him, his golden sword soul phantom rose too. Although there was only one, the supreme sword essence it unleashed was much more powerful than those 6 spear soul phantoms. Gathering the spiritual power in his hand, in the next second, Jian Wushuang slashed out with his heart-killing sword, which looked like a boundless and lasting Star River. It was the 7th move of heart-killing sword, Star River. Bang! 2 forces collided, immediately ripples spread through the air. The dark eddy turned around and Jian Wushuang also staggered back many steps. In the eddy, Dark Emperor held tightly onto his long black spear and the aura of darkness on him became stronger. I have underestimated you. It didn't kill you, it didn't even suppress you. Instead, you have the upper hand. You are strong enough to be ranked among the top experts in the ancient world. Here comes the second move. I will spare no effort this time. Then he thrust his long spear again. Seemingly simple, it rushed rapidly towards Jian Wushuang's head like lightning across the distance. So fast. Jian Wushuang's look darkened. fast and horrifying. Saint Masters of the Darkness Temple behind Dark Emperor were shocked. Apparently he had spared no effort. Jian Wushuang squared his shoulders and watched the coming spear. The Blood River realm immediately spread and a blood bridge crossed the Blood River. Azura's secret skill, Road to the Underworld and Bridge of Helplessness were displayed simultaneously. The next moment, Jian Wushuang slashed again. He used his full strength, with all his body's power, spiritual power and power of sword soul and Tao. The Star River was much stronger than before. Boom! Two forces collided again. Jian Wushuang stepped back more than 30 meters before stopping. Such a powerful move. A glimpse of admiration flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes after he came to a stop. Though his physical strength was stronger than Dark Emperor, he was weaker in Tao, as was his trump card. Therefore, he was at a disadvantage. But fortunately he was not injured. You're not injured. I believe you are qualified to be ranked in the top 10 in the ancient world. Be careful, the third move comes. Dark Emperor's cold voice reverberated in the world. On hearing this, Jian Wushuang's face darkened more. Saint Masters of the Darkness Temple were expectant. Is it? Sure. His most powerful move, secret skill, which he created himself. Secret skill, when will we create our own? In the void, Dark Emperor suddenly struck out. Immediately the void turned into nothingness. A long spear stabbed out quietly but with amazing speed. It was too fast to react to. Jian Wushuang could only raise his long sword before his chest. Bang! A thud fell. Jian Wushuang's eyes opened wide after finding that a rift appeared in the void before him. Space rift. Jian Wushuang stared at it. It cracked space. Such a powerful attack. What's going on? Jian Wushuang was surprised. He thought it was powerful because it had torn through space. However, when it really hit him, he found that it was not. He was not even wounded. What happened? Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes and understood immediately. Dark Emperor has planned this. He was just posturing to prove that he had tried his best. Understanding this point, a happy expression appeared on Jian Wushuang's face. Hearing what the Dark Emperor said, those Saint Masters' faces changed. Thank you. He turned his eyes to a corner of the Darkness Temple, where there was a powerful aura he had perceived earlier. That was Su Ming. Su Ming, come accept your death. Jian Wushuang's angry shout reverberated. In a hall of the Darkness Temple, Su Ming sat leg-crossed. He knew what had happened outside. His eyes fell when he saw Jian Wushuang was still alive after being attacked by Dark Emperor's strongest move. Dark Emperor's most powerful move, he created it himself. In the ancient world, only he can perform it. It's impossible that Jian Wushuang can withstand it, even if his body is strong. Chapter 607, Su Ming's Survival. Chapter 607, Su Ming's Survival. Secret skills were very overwhelming and horrifying. In the entire ancient world, only the Dark Emperor could create a secret skill. The strongest experts, such as the Bone Dragon Emperor and Sir Ming, had never created any secret skills. Only with some other techniques could they have similar battle strength with Dark Emperor. In terms of offensive power, Dark Emperor's secret skill was absolutely the best. What astonished Su Ming, however, was that such a terrifying secret skill could be overcome by Jian Wushuang so easily, and the latter was just hurt a little. Humph! Dark Emperor was very selfish and only cared about his own interests. Maybe it was because he saw Jian Wushuang has incredible talent or thought about Bone Dragon Emperor, that he showed mercy just now. He has never been planning to protect me. As for that space rift, well, he was just acting. Anyway, the secret skill was created by himself, and is so complex that other people cannot tell the difference. Su Ming laughed coldly. At this moment, Su Ming, come accept your death. A roar with rage was suddenly heard by Su Ming. His face became solemn. Then, his figure immediately rushed out. At the next moment, he had appeared in the void, just standing in front of Jian Wushuang. Seeing Jian Wushuang, a dark and cold smile appeared on Su Ming's face. Jian Wushuang, my good junior brother. You hate me so much, and want to kill me immediately? It's good that you know this. Jian Wushuang shot a glance at Su Ming. Today, I'll definitely kill you. Kill me? Huh, you are kidding. Su Ming suddenly laughed. Jian Wushuang, you are too arrogant. You think you can kill me because I do not have the Dark Emperor's protection? You are looking down upon me too much. Jian Wushuang's expression couldn't help changing slightly when he heard these words. At this critical moment, Su Ming still had other trump cards. However, Su Ming stretched out his hand, in which there was a jade slip surrounding by slight thunderbolt power. Looking at this jade slip, a flash of coldness appeared in Su Ming's eyes. I thought I would use this jade slip later in the ancient world, but now I have to use it. How unfortunate. With a slight sigh, Su Ming slowly gripped the jade slip with his right hand. At the next moment, the jade slip was crushed. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang had a bad feeling. As expected, after the jade slip was crushed, an incredible blast of power exploded, with dense space energy. The void above abruptly collapsed, and a huge whirlpool appeared from nowhere, connecting with another space. The other end of the whirlpool was full of mystery. At the sight of the huge whirlpool, many experts, including Bone Dragon Emperor and the Dark Emperor who had retreated to the Darkness Temple, greatly changed their complexion. Everyone could feel the special aura spreading from that whirlpool. That aura was alluring. Eternal World. This is the channel to the Eternal World. Bone Dragon Emperor stared and shouted in a low voice. What? Jian Wushuang was also shocked. The channel to the Eternal World? Generally, there was one-way travel from the ancient world to the Eternal World, and the only way was through the use of the ancient world token. However, it was just the regular way. Yet, sometimes, there was special situation. Super experts, such as Emperor Shao and Di Jing, could travel from the ancient world to the Eternal World freely, and they could even bring someone from the ancient world to the Eternal World. Before that, Emperor Shao had said, if Jian Wushuang could not break through before the Firmament Territory Feast, he would also bring Jian Wushuang to the Eternal World. But now, the jade slip crushed by Su Ming was apparently a very rare special way to the Eternal World. Aha, Jian Wushuang, you think you can kill me? Seeing this scene, Su Ming was not surprised at all, but stared at Jian Wushuang with a cold smile. A little while after the huge whirlpool appeared and the special aura was spread out, a figure slowly stepped out from the whirlpool. This man was wearing a purple robe, on which some scarlet thunderbolts were embroidered. His body was strong, with a cold and proud face. He just stood there. Chapter 608, Universal Thunder Sect. Chapter 608, Universal Thunder Sect. All the experts, including Dark Emperor, Bone Dragon Emperor and the present experts from the Darkness Temple, looked at Su Ming with admiration. In normal circumstances, if they wanted to go to the Eternal World, they had to desperately fight for an ancient world token, and then had to wait for the commencement of the Firmament Territory Feast to enter the Eternal World. In addition, even though they took part in the Firmament Territory Feast, only the people who did very well and the most brilliant talents could get the chance to enter powerful sections. Most of the people who were going to the Eternal World would become cannon fodder. But Su Ming. He could directly enter the Eternal World and the Universal Thunder Sect just because he obtained an opportunity left by an expert of the Eternal World, and he could even be guided by an expert. His luck was really heaven-defying. I wanted to stay longer in the ancient world, but, Su Ming said, and looking at Jian Wushuang with incomparably cold eyes. Anyway, he had just broken through and reached the skyscraping realm. Indeed, he was not in a hurry to enter the Eternal World. His original plan was to stay for another several hundred years in the ancient world, where he could enjoy being a top expert. Anyway, when he arrived in the eternal world, where there were countless experts, he, a skyscraping realm, would be as weak as an ant. However, just because of Jian Wushuang's pressure, he had to choose to crush the jade slip now and directly enter the eternal world. Su Ming, my junior brother, can you come along with me now? Shuiyang asked. Shuiyang, my senior brother, speaking frankly, I have a deadly enemy in this ancient world. Today, if you, my senior brother, had not come, I'm afraid I would have become a dead body. If this man is not killed, I cannot go to the Universal Thunder sect with a peaceful heart, so I hope you can help me kill my enemy. Su Ming said seriously. Oh? Shuiyang raised his eyebrows, with his scarlet thunderbolt eyes sweeping around. Hearing what Su Ming said, Jian Wushuang looked concerned. Su Ming, my junior brother, who is your enemy? I can help you kill him. Shuiyang directly said. In this little ancient world, no one could stop Shuiyang from doing anything. He just needed to lift a finger to kill Su Ming's enemy in the ancient world. As soon as he thought Su Ming was the person sect master Lei Xian told him to guide, Shuiyang would not refuse at all. Thank you for your help, Shuiyang, my senior brother. Su Ming was very glad. He pointed to Jian Wushuang immediately. Shuiyang, my senior brother, my enemy was him. I hope you kill him. I will be very grateful. This little guy. Shuiyang shot a glance at Jian Wushuang, with no emotion in his eyes, and said, Little guy, as long as my junior brother wants you to die, you have to die. After saying this, Shuiyang reached out his hand and pointed a finger at Jian Wushuang. A light scarlet thunderbolt whirled around him and burst out in an instant. At that moment, hua hua. The void directly collapsed, and many space rifts, which were as long as several miles, appeared. More than a score of space rifts burst out immediately. The space in the ancient world is so fragile. Shuiyang smiled scornfully. The sight of this caused the surrounding experts to gulp a deep breath. Anyway, in their ancient world, it was well recognized that Dark Emperor had the #1 offensive power. However, even the secret skill he created, his most powerful technique, could only make a small space rift in the void. But now, Shuiyang's casual finger could produce power which was tens of thousands of times stronger than the Dark Emperor's most powerful technique. It was too terrifying. With a single finger, he could destroy the entire earth and heaven. No! Jian Wushuang's face became pale. Seeing the finger which could destroy the world attacking him, despite desperately wanting to escape, he realized with terror that no matter how he dodged, that finger would track and attack him. The comprehension of Dao from this far exceeded his imagination. Jian Wushuang, accept your destiny and die. Su Ming's face looked ferocious, looking forward to seeing the scene where Jian Wushuang was completely killed. However, just before the finger, which could destroy the world, really fell upon Jian Wushuang, the void before Jian Wushuang suddenly broke and a hole appeared. A giant hand came out from the hole and slapped that finger into pieces in an instant. Moreover, the power of the giant hand was not diminishing, and the hand continued to attack Shuiyang. What? Shuiyang, the purple-robed person with a superior posture, changed his face greatly at this moment. He had never thought that in this little ancient world, someone could head-on stop his attack. As the giant hand approached him, he had no capacity to dodge at all. Pang! The giant hand slapped Shuiyang, and the latter immediately spouted out a mouthful of fresh blood, while his figure retreated in embarrassment. At the same time, a grand voice with arrogance was heard from the hole, echoing between the earth and heaven. Universal Thunder Sect? Humph! How dare you! You dare attack the man who is valued by our Master Emperor Shao. When there is a chance, I will visit your sect Master Lei Xian for Master Emperor Shao. The arrogant voice echoed between the earth and heaven, lingering for a long time, and terrifying everyone present. Emperor Shao! Master Emperor Shao! Shuiyang's eyes widened, with a sense of terror. At this moment, he could not think about his own injuries. In a hurry, he looked at Su Ming and said, "Su Ming, junior brother, let's go. Let's go quickly." Shocked by that scene just now, Su Ming was stunned when he heard what Shui Yang said. He realized the terror on Shui Yang's face. He dared not hesitate, and just directly stepped into the channel to the eternal world following Shui Yang. As a brilliant light flashed, Shui Yang and Su Ming disappeared out of everyone's sight. Who? Watching Shui Yang leave, Bone Dragon Emperor let out a sigh of relief. It's lucky that the master has been paying attention to the situation here and did something, or... Bone Dragon Emperor exclaimed. He knew that the person who had just attacked was Di Jing. Jian Wushuang, Su Ming has gone to the eternal world. If you want to kill him, it seems that you have to wait. Bone Dragon Emperor looked over to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was just standing still and looking at what was happening. He slightly nodded, with an icy cold face. Universal Thunder Sect. Jian Wushuang gripped his hands tightly. "Su Ming, you just wait, and I'll pursue you in the eternal world in a little while." You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.